Ecolomondo Corporation is a Canadian cleantech company listed on the TSX Venture Exchange and OTC Markets Group, set to become a global cleantech innovator and strategic partner to industry and communities. With an extensive 25-year history focused on waste-to-resource technology development and deployment, our mission is to mobilize widespread industrial resource recovery and reimagine sustainable waste management opportunities that efficiently transform end-of-life products into high-value circular resources with low carbon footprints. We take pride in our proprietary Thermal Decomposition Process, or TDP, a green technology that transforms hydrocarbon waste into high-quality and high-demand commodity products that are needed to manufacture industrial and consumer products that we use in our everyday life. Ecolomondo will be completing its first fully commercial TDP facility in Hawkesbury, Canada, that is expected to produce 22,400 metric tons of reusable commodities. We are also preparing for our second commercial facility, a 6-reactor TDP facility to be located in Shamrock, Texas, with 3 times the capacity of the Hawkesbury facility. TDP is proven and is technically more advanced than other pyrolysis technologies. This technology is also environmentally friendly, with substantial carbon dioxide reductions, lowering carbon emissions by up to 90% versus virgin carbon black production. It is almost energy self-sufficient, using some gas produced during the decomposition process to heat the reactors. Our strategy is to become a major global manufacturer, vendor, and operator of TDP turnkey facilities, and for now, specializing in the processing of ELTs. Our global rollout can be achieved much faster than the competition because our TDP technology is modular, enabling us to deliver a turnkey TDP within 18 months. We plan to market our TDP technology around the world for the next phase of its global expansion as part of its rollout strategy in the future. Ecolomondo, value your world.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to Ecolomondo's first interactive webinar of the year. We hope you enjoyed that informative video, which includes topics we'll be discussing today. We at Global One Media are thrilled to be holding this event in partnership with Ecolomondo's chairman and CEO, Eliot Sorella. I'm your host, Ashleigh Barry. Ecolomondo is a Canadian clean tech company, as you just heard, headquartered in Quebec, Canada, with decades of experience focused on waste-to-resource technology development and deployment. They're listed on the TSX Venture Exchange as ECM and the OTC as ECLMF. Please be advised, this event will contain forward-looking statements from Ecolomondo and that Global One Media is not a registered broker-dealer or investment advisor, therefore serving as host to this event only. This webinar is being recorded and will be available for viewing after the event, both on Ecolomondo's website and Global One Media's YouTube pages. The addresses of both are now posted in the chat. This will be an open discussion today, and you are welcome to post your questions in the chat throughout the conversation here. Now, just keep in mind, some of these questions will be redundant, and we will do our very best to get all of them here at the end. And now it is my true pleasure to welcome Ecolomondo's chairman and CEO, Eliot Sorella, and several members of his leadership team to today's webinar. Eliot.
So, Ashleigh, thank you very much. I'm really excited to have this interactive discussion. Shareholders have been waiting a long time for to get the required information and to make sure that they're up to speed on a day-to-day basis as to what's going on in our corporate history, the Hawkesbury plant, the Texas expansion. So we hope to bring light to everybody, and hopefully it'll bring a little bit more confidence to the strategy that we put in place and the road that we have set on in our global expansion. Today, I do have part of the team that will also be available for interactive discussions. should the listeners or the viewers want to ask questions. In particular, we have Crystal Hammersmeyer, who is from Shamrock, Texas, who has been a steadfast proponent to our Shamrock facility, and I'm sure she will give a lot of insight over the years what has been going on in Texas, and hopefully the investors will and shareholders and any stakeholder for that matter will understand the amount of work that has been going on in Texas. So I'm anxious to get to the questions, and I'm anxious to give information.
Sure, Eliot, obviously a lot of exciting developments. The circular economy is striving to achieve global sustainability. So how does Ecolomondo contribute to this particular movement?
So if we look at today's circular economy was put into place by industry, by society as a whole, to ensure that going forward, the planet could sustain productivity and sustain the amount of resources it needs to make this productivity. We at Ecolomondo, take waste, we convert it, and we bring it to in a manner to industry that they could reuse it to produce other products. This is the sustainable part about it, is taking waste to recycle, to reuse it. Ecolomondo serves that purpose. It serves that purpose for hydrocarbon waste. We've started our business commercialization in scrap tires. And we strove to fabricate or produce products that will help and be used in the circular economy. Now, circular means exactly that. Take end-of-life products, convert that back to basically original components, take those components, sell them, and reuse them to make other products, and the circularity restarts again. So the key ingredient here is to ensure that you're taking waste, you're making quality products that can be easily accepted by industry and could be reused to make other end-of-life products, other products that will achieve their end of life. One of the key components that we all have to understand, is that if companies like Ecolomondo don't grow in size and expand globally, eventually there will not be enough sustainable products to ensure productivity. So we at Ecolomondo do our little share in helping achieve that goal of producing resources for reuse.
So you're talking about that global expansion and the importance of it. The thermal decomposition technology really maximizes recovery of commodity products, as you mentioned, from end-of-life tires. So let's talk about the impact now, specifically that what you're doing is having on the global supply chain now and potentially in the future.
Well, in our particular case, one of our visions is to be a global distributor of recovered products. Now, with the commissioning of Hawkesbury and with the eventual building of Texas, we will fill that need. We're helping to produce replaceable resources with a lower environmental impact. That in itself is critical. So we're helping supply chain. We're steadying the supply chain by producing recovered products. And what we are doing, we're doing it with a cleaner environmental footprint. So we're achieving a lot of goals here. Now, Ashleigh, we need to realize Ecolomondo's TDP process does not combust. We don't burn anything. What we do is we process it, we rearrange the molecular structure, and we maintain the molecular structure to ensure that our products are of quality, consistent, okay, and could be easily accepted by industry.
So you previously indicated that your TDP turnkey facilities are highly scalable. What do you mean by that, and how will this help in your global expansion goals?
You know, we had to be visionary right from get-go. To build one plant takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money. So the key thing here is how do we build more of them faster and cheaper? And the only way that could be done is with repeating the same thing over and over again. What we did, we've engineered our Hawkesbury plant. We engineered our Contrecar plant. So what we did, we took all the bells and whistles of Contrecar, built it in Hawkesbury. We engineered all the plans. And what we did is we built a module. We built a 2-reactor module. That is the smallest module we make. So if we want to expand going forward, we want to build a plant that's double the size of Hawkesbury. So we built 2 modules. If we want to go to 3 times, 3 modules. We want to go 4 times, we build 4 modules. So here we achieve many goals here. First of all, we don't have to re-engineer. That saves time, saves capital cost, okay? And your rollout, your delivery of these plants are much, much faster, because to do engineering doesn't take a few months. It could take up to years. The plans at Ecolomondo were developed and designed over almost a 7-year period at considerable cost. Then you need to work on automation. So whatever you change automation. We brought it down to, like making donuts, basically. So our technology is scalable because we're scalable in size of modules. And that is critical. And the reason why we were able to do that was because over the years, we developed our own proprietary technology. It's unprecedented, the way we do things. Okay, it helps in permitting, because governments, they want repetitive things. So you apply for a permit, you get it. You can apply for a second permit and get it, because you're checking all the boxes that need to be checked for the governments when it comes to emissions, standards, controls, safety. We cover all those bells and whistles with every single plant. Every plant we build is done in a green environment. And that's why our plants have been designed to be sustainable, and also they can be built on a scalable basis that reduce costs considerably, because the plant in Hawkesbury costs more money, and we expect going forward to reduce the cost of capital expense by the repetitiveness that we have and the economies of scale that we bring by larger plants.
I'd like to get into a little more depth about both of those plants, but first I'd like to ask you what ESG metrics you use to benchmark and measure progress.
Well, ESG, is critical today in our industry, okay? And, ESG stands for social, environmental, and governance. At Ecolomondo, okay, our foundation is based on that. Okay. So I would like to introduce Isabel Pugh, who is our corporate and compliance strategist, and she will enlighten you a little bit on ESG and what we've been doing at Ecolomondo. So welcome to Isabel.
Thanks, Eliot, and everyone. Thank you, everybody, for your interest in Ecolomondo. My name is Isabel Puig, corporate and compliance strategist for Ecolomondo, and I am so pleased to be here today with all of you. Ecolomondo provides quarterly reports for its shareholders using GRI standards, which allow an organization to report information in a way that covers all its most significant impacts on the economy. environment, and corporate governance, which are the three pillars of ESG: environment, corporate governance, and social. The GRI, which stand for Global Review Initiative Standards, are a modular system of interconnected standards that allow organizations to publicly report the impacts of their activities in a structured way that is transparent to stakeholders and other interested parties. So some of the KPIs of Ecolomondo measures are emission and intensity, greenhouse emissions, and carbon footprint in the environmental aspect. On the social aspect, we measure global health and safety, injury rate, and gender diversity. And last but not least, we measure ethics and anti-corruption, ESG reporting, and board independence. We also have a great impact on the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Ecolomondo impacts mainly 9 of them, but mainly we impact affordable and clean energy, to mention a few, sustainable cities and communities, responsible production and consumption, decent work and economic growth, and climate action. So I think this pretty much answers this question. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the Q&A, and we'll be around. Thank you.
Excellent, Isabel. Thank you so much. Back to Eliot, you previously mentioned the Hawkesbury and Texas projects. Could you walk us through some of the key financial metrics here?
The Hawkesbury project, has been around for a few years, as everybody knows. We built it through COVID. So we broke ground in August, and all the way during 2 years of COVID, it was very time consuming and painful in certain ways to see the delays going on. Not that they were voluntarily. So the plant in Texas, in Hawkesbury, I will quote these in US dollars because we have a lot of listeners from the US today. So the plant ended up costing approximately $33.5 million. The projected revenue, of the Hawkesbury plant will be $14.7 million per year, with an EBITDA of $7.7 million. So if you can see, you see the EBITDA is slightly over 55% or for the Hawkesbury plant. In the Texas plant, we're going to be producing 50,000 metric tons of tire waste. So we expect to generate revenues of $41.7 million of sales, 58.4% EBITDA. If we had all the products today in Hawkesbury and in Texas, we would have offtake agreements at pricing that will generate these revenues. After being all these years at the podium, we understand the market, we know the market, we're very capable of selling the market. The key ingredient here is that we at Ecolomondo manufacture the highest quality of recovered carbon black in the world. Recovered carbon black is the key ingredient to success. Why? It represents 38% of our output, but generates 58% of our revenues. So the higher percentage that you're able to manufacture in recovered carbon black, the more revenue streams and more sales you generate, and the higher your bottom line becomes. We at Ecolomondo believe that the numbers that we plan for are numbers that can easily be achieved, and we take into consideration a certain amount of conservatism in our numbers to ensure that we're not overselling what we say. So these are extremely, extremely important aspects that we need to consider. The key ingredient to all of this is having the product today. The demand is insatiable for recovered carbon black. Oil, we have many, many suppliers or customers that want to buy our recovered oil. And not to necessarily burn, but to convert. to make better quality products. So our products will bring a considerable added value to what we manufacture, to our production. And companies pay more for the output because today it's a product in demand. Recovered carbon black is an important ingredient because either you buy virgin, you buy recovered carbon black. Tire companies, okay, suck up whatever availability there is in the market. Okay, so other suppliers, other manufacturers have to look for alternatives. And the best alternative is to go to a recovered carbon black that's of good quality and of consistent quality, because nobody wants to buy product that's good today, no good tomorrow. Okay, we at Ecolomondo, our process ensures that.
Yeah, thanks, Eliot. I think it's really important that you specified the market for all the recovered carbon black oil and steel. So thank you for that. Let's go back to the Hawkesbury facility and the excitement surrounding operations there. When do you expect to begin and generate revenues? I know that a lot of people are very excited about operations underway, so I think it's important maybe to give an update about that.
Well, we just issued a press release before the webinar tonight. Our company, okay, our process, our plant has been complete for months. The putting up the equipment was the easy thing. It was challenging because we had to do it all through COVID. We are now shredding tires. Our carbon black line is operational. We've done batches, and the batches were successful. When you do a batch, it's just not, we do a batch and then we're doing the next one. You got to ensure that, reactor payloads, as you're increasing them, you need to make sure the rotary joints are good, the thermal expansion is good. There's a lot of things that need to be verified before you move to the next step. We've achieved that. And I might add, better than expectation success. Being the largest shareholder in the company, I've put my own sweat and blood. I've put in over $25 million in this company, okay? So nobody's more anxious to see it running than myself. But we're going to do things right, and we are doing things right. We look after employee safety, the environment, okay? We look after governance, make sure we do, people need to be treated right. We have to be good corporate citizens, okay? As Isabel said, ESG, okay? And we're doing it. Not because we have to do it, but we've been doing it from before, okay? So I'm very, very proud of our company because even though a lot of people would love for us to say, hey, pull the switches, let's make it all happen. It will be done all in due time, but it's going to be done the right way. And I assure you, it will be done because the equipment is robust. We've built a monster to be able to process these tires. So we're there. We're soon to commercialize. Mm-hmm. We're doing everything that needs to be right. We have a great technical team. They work nonstop, okay, including myself, okay. I'm a hands-on person when it comes to Ecolomondo. Everything else, people don't see me, okay? So I'm very confident that in the coming weeks and several months that we will achieve the threshold where we will do batches all day long, both reactors, and start producing the products, because we have customers for them. The customers have been more than patient because they understand. They understand what we're going through. COVID was not easy. Okay, parts went up, costs went up. We mitigated everything. We mitigated cost. We mitigated schedules. Some mornings was great. Some mornings was very disappointing. You're expecting a crew of 35 people, 15 show up. The pipe fitters show up, the welders don't show up, okay? Because one of them had COVID or whatever. We lived through all of this. And investors, some investors, I would say Ecolomondo's investors have been more than loyal, and they have my respect. That's why each and every one of them that ever calls me, okay, I always speak to them, okay? Ashleigh, I do want to ask you if we can bring Crystal on the webinar, where I'd like her to explain a little bit all the work that's been done in preparation and where we're at with the Shamrock facility. And then I'll elaborate a little bit more on that.
We are, when this first started, we've been working for a few years on this now. COVID kind of put a kink in all of the plans. Ecolomondo came to us after we reached out and looked at the site that we had. They really liked the location. We are located on an intersection between I-40, which is reaches from East Coast to West Coast, and Highway 83 that goes from Canada to Old Mexico. We're right in the middle. We have such a tire issue in the Texas Panhandle and the surrounding states. We've already had counties and municipalities that have committed to providing feedstock to the company. And are so excited about having a company that's close that they won't have to travel to be able to take their scrap tires. And Ecolomondo has been just such a joy to work with, and people are very excited in the Texas Panhandle to actually have something here that they can, run to Shamrock and be able to dispose of the tires and have a place to go that, for a solution to our problem.
The one of the key things is that feedstock. Why did we select Shamrock? Everybody's saying, why did you select Shamrock? Well, just to point out, I was down in Shamrock last May, and within 2 days we had 45% of the feedstock that we needed. Okay. We are working with the landfills. Just to give you a few of the metrics of the Texas, 28 million tires are either burnt as TDF, 28 million tires are burnt or landfilled. 18 million are burnt, 11 million are landfilled. We are working with the landfillers, okay, the sites where only them, okay, will give us all of the tires, okay, needed for the Hawkesbury, the Shamrock plant. So we only need about 6 million tires, and there's 11 million there. And they have to pay to dispose those tires. So we're like a godsend for them. Mm-hmm. So we chose feedstock. We chose Shamrock because of feedstock. We also chose Shamrock is because three of our largest customers are the major carbon black manufacturers. You have Cabot, you have Orion, and you have Tokai, okay? Of which all three are customers of Ecolomondo. We chose Shamrock for a specific reason, not to mention the people at EDC, the Economic Development Corporation of Shamrock, and that whole county have been very supportive of Ecolomondo. They gave us substantial millions of grants so we would go to that site. So at Ecolomondo, we just didn't pick Shamrock out of clear blue sky. Mm-hmm. The other reason we picked Shamrock is because most of the tire recyclers have very little footprint in that area, which has about a 12 million population because we're touching 4 more states. within 100, 150 miles, 200 miles. Whereas now most transporters have to bring the tires down south. So we will save them all money, and what happens when you save money translates into everybody's got goodwill and everybody wants to give us the tires. Okay. In fact, if we wanted, we can build even a much larger plant. Okay. Because we have the feedstock and we will have the offtake agreements. We have the largest steel recycler in North America. Okay, that's buying our steel there. So I'm enlightening the shareholders who think that we are just working on Hawkesbury. Hawkesbury is one amongst many other things that we do here at Ecolomondo. Okay, my philosophy is to announce achievements. It's not to announce what we think our achievements are going to be down the line. Okay? Today, I'm announcing our achievements, not what I believe is going to be 6 months, a year from now. The company is at a pivotal stage where it needs to be. Okay? And we have, okay, the wherewithal to achieve whatever goals we set, okay, going forward.
Thank you, Eliot. And thanks for bringing in Crystal. That was really helpful information to really kind of conceptualize what's happening there in the panhandle of Texas with your company. Last question here before we jump into the chat. We're running over, and I want to make sure that we give the viewers an opportunity so we can answer their questions. Last question, Eliot, as for shareholder value, how has Ecolomondo held up in the capital markets?
Well, what you see on the screen is the recent graph of our stock up to yesterday. Okay. If you notice, the capital markets are going through turbulent times. I don't know where the stock finished today, so I stand corrected. Anything that has to do with today, because I was busy getting ready for this podcast and getting ready. But here's the take. We at Ecolomondo have stayed steadfast, okay? We live in the real world. We understand what the market is all about, okay? However, our stock has gained shareholder value without any pumping and very, very little marketing of the stock. Our story is vivid, it's visual. You can see a plant built, okay? People do come to see the site. They see firsthand. Somebody came 2 months ago and come today. They see things. Things are advancing by the day, okay? Like any monumental project, like this in Hawkesbury, first of its kind, okay? I mean, everything is proprietary, okay? And, building it from scratch, we even had to clear the trees. During COVID, I'll tell you, okay, I'm very proud of myself being the leader of the company at this stage. I'm very proud of my team because you know what? They've been there no matter what, okay? And they take things serious for the benefit of shareholders. So when we're talking about shareholder value, the stock yesterday was at 48 cents. We went public 5 years ago, or 5.5 years ago, and it was 35 cents. But here's the kicker. In all that period of time, we went back to market 2 times. One time we raised 4 million, and one time 1 million. So what we did is we brought negligible dilution to the shareholders. That in itself, for a startup, is a feat in itself, okay? And I take great pride, okay, in trying to do things the right way. because the right way is the only way at Ecolomondo. So I believe we brought a lot of, plus not only shareholder value, we're bringing vision to the company. You know, Ecolomondo is going to generate 15, 16 million in sales. Texas is going to generate another 40 million in sales. Once those two things kicks in, okay, and without even factoring in any shareholder expectancy, we will bring tremendous value to the shareholders. And for the reasons, a lot of them buy the stock and hold them. We don't trade a lot of stock because the shareholders are buying it and holding it because they believe in the company. Yes, we have some day traders. We have some algorithms that play with the stock or back and forth. Because if they wouldn't, the stock would be trading at a much higher basis, pricing. So all being said and done, okay, I am extremely proud of our achievements, and I understand shareholders want to invest money today and make money tomorrow. I'd love to do it too. Okay, so it'll come. Okay, I believe it'll come, and I believe we're going to see some real value coming soon. I'll leave you all on that note.
Terrific, Eliot. Let's jump right to the Q&A. We only have 10 minutes left. One of the questions here, do you see any issues in getting affordable financing right now in order to carry out this expansion? So obviously they're talking about expanding what you had touched on earlier. So
we at Ecolomondo have always been very innovative in the way we do things. Keep in mind, we did float a $32.5 million loan with the EDC to build our Hawkesbury plant. Okay, that in itself was trend-setting because the EDC doesn't get involved in local projects. They get involved in international projects and at a much larger scale. It took years, but we've done it. We went into Texas. Okay, the project in Texas is $93 million investment, US. Okay, how are we going to achieve? Okay, we have been able to secure, with the help of the EDC, an $80 million volume cap. That means that the EDC could issue an $80 million bond, okay, to Ecolomondo to raise $80 million. And who do we sell it to? Well, we've hired an investment banker by the name of Ziegler. They're probably on the call, okay? And he will promote the selling of that bond. The key ingredient here is the bond gets a tax holiday on the interest, the bondholders, tax holiday on the interest for the life of the bond. And that's their enticement to invest in green technologies like Ecolomondo, okay? We are currently in an active mode of getting a joint venture partner, okay? We have set the volume cap bond was only issued in around mid-February, so we haven't had a lot of time. So we're working now on in different areas for to sell a stake to joint venture partners. Now we have been looking and speaking, and some of them at a higher level, to industry players, people that want and need the products we produce.
So, Eliot, that actually leads me to another question where somebody had actually asked that very thing. Have you thought about doing a joint venture with individual tire manufacturers to build a few mega facilities? Is that something we can address?
Well, we don't believe the future, or I don't believe the future of Ecolomondo is with tire companies. They make great releases, press releases. They make very, very bad partners. Okay, so I believe in selling our products to people that will pay a higher value and who will be there. Okay, not only as a partner, but also as a purchaser of products. Now, Ashleigh, we all, I don't want to be long-winded, but we all have to understand there's a limited supply of recovered carbon black in the world, okay? So we don't have to go to tire manufacturers. I can sell 10 plants of recovered carbon black today and not to tire manufacturers, okay? Because we had 8 large companies test our carbon black. 8 large companies have expressed an interest, and we've received offers from more than half of them. Okay, we've put people on volume cap, so that's where we're at today. So I don't have to make deals with the tire manufacturers, but the experience in the industry right now with the tire manufacturers, they make great press releases, but very poor partners because their game plan is to be there just in case. That's not our game plan.
Okay. Let's move on to the environmental impact. Somebody had asked how much waste, if any, is there left after your processing? And if there is any, what is done with it?
We have no waste. Our product, we take 100 pounds of the tires and we recycle and reuse 100% of the tire. The only part that right now we sell it as energy, but everything else we reuse and we have almost zero residue. Whatever little bit of waste we have, we even recycle the water, okay? But sometimes we have to do maintenance, change oils, we have to get water, etc. We discard it appropriately using companies that are licensed to do so, which is very minimal, by the way.
Okay. Another question here. How much carbon black has been produced to date from the Hawkesbury plant?
To date, using our thermal decomposition process itself, we produced a batch of 1,600 pounds and then 7,000 pounds. So you take total of those two numbers and you multiply it by 40, and more or less, that's what we've produced.
A couple more questions, Eliot. Financing needs for the plant.
We right now we're kind of holding our own for the plant. Okay, obviously, like anything else, if we delay in our startup, which I don't believe this time we will, then we might have to go back to market. If we maintain our schedule of startup, I believe we're going to be okay. If not, it'll be a minimal amount that will be required. But I think in Hawkesbury, we're okay. Again, if everything goes the way we're anticipating it right now, because we've covered all of our corners so far.
So for the folks in the US, I think there's a lot of curiosity swirling around if you're planning to uplist further here in the United States with the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. That's another question that just came in.
So our game plan is obviously it was not our intention to raise large amounts of money because we didn't want the investors to be diluted. Okay. And I don't consider myself in that scenario, Ashleigh, because look, I own almost 80% of the company. So if I dilute 10%, 15%, and the company goes to I don't look at that. What I look at is success. I've worked my life to succeed. Okay, and so to get back to we are going to get listed in the U.S. It'll have to be either on the QB or QX. If the shareholders support us and they see, what we're doing and they respect what they were doing, then they could bring a little bit more volatility to the stock. Okay, and that volatility will translate into higher pricing. So that being said, we're also looking at another listing overseas because it's an area that's very, very good for investors. So next time we want to raise money, we're going to be positioned to raise a large amount of money to ensure our global rollout. Now, our global rollout is simple. We own the technology. We've developed it. We don't have to ask anybody. We decide where we build these plants. We decide the size. We do the due diligence for the offtake. We do the due diligence for the feedstock. We got all of our bases covered. The only thing that holds us back is we got to do things as we can afford them. Okay. And that's what we're doing today. But once Hawkesbury is running, look, I know I got the best mousetrap in the world. But up to now, I haven't been able to sell a mousetrap. So I built my own. And I don't want to sell them anymore. You understand? Because I go and see people like Crystal, and I sell myself. I sell the company. I show them how great it is. And they know it. Not only are we creating economic stimulus in the area, we're also resolving issues. We're bringing, in Texas, it's plagued. I mean, there's micro storage sites. There's thousands of them. They're allowed to store 500 tires, and they don't even need a permit. There's thousands of them. We're there. People will bring these tires to us. So we're actually serving a purpose there. And the people that are in the industry will love doing business with us because we're saving them money. Okay? And believe it or not, American people and Canadians, don't get me wrong, we're talking about Texas, they want to do things right. Okay? And I was there. I mean, I met from the pastor, I met everybody that you can possibly want to meet there. And they're all enthusiastic. And that's why we got, I don't know the exact number, but it's about 10, and Crystal, you correct me if I'm wrong, about $10 or $12 million in grants. I'm a good negotiator, probably a lousy businessman, but a good negotiator. So let's go to the next question.
Well, Eliot, we're out of time. I think you gave us many teasers and exciting updates and things to look forward to. This will not be our last webinar, I believe. I just really want to thank you and everyone who joined us today for being here. And any additional questions, those we may not have addressed, we encourage you to visit Ecolomondo's interactive investor page. That will be listed in the chat. It's investors.ecolomondo.com. shareholder-services. Certainly, what an informative conversation, Eliot and your entire team. Thank you so much. Again, this webinar is being recorded, will be available for viewing after the event on both Ecolomondo and Global One Media's YouTube pages, as I mentioned earlier. The addresses of both are posted in the chat. And until next time, I'm Ashleigh Barry. Stay safe. Thank you all again for joining.